Okay, here we go. Um, I want to talk about this because there is a rumor going around. There is a massive rumor going around. And I really want to talk about it. I really do. And this is something that I truly need to say how I truly feel about this. Because at one hand, it could be great. The other hand, it could be a goddamn nightmare. And I really am hoping it doesn't go where I'm hoping it's not going to go. What I mean is I am all for a Spider-Man 4 and an Amazing Spider-Man 3 happening. I'm all for it. Like I'm all for uh the whole two other versions that kind of failed in the end, but in a way were somewhat successful in one way or another. Um, I'm all for it to have their versions get another movie, but what I'm strongly worry about is it might lead to them disting Marvel, them pretty much saying, okay, we done our duty with you, Marvel. Say goodbye. We don't need you. And then pretty much dooming Spider-Man down the line. Now, granted, that whole statement that people say Spider-Man doesn't need Marvel, it's Marvel that needs Spider-Man. I don't know what the fuck they're smoking, but it's Marvel that doesn't need Spider-Man, and Spider-Man needs Marvel. That is saying a lot. However, um, I know a lot of people wanting the whole rights to go divert back to Marvel with Spider-Man, and I get it. I get the whole reason. Marvel should have their characters back because we're at a point in Marvel that really there shouldn't be um, another studio doing Marvel films besides Marvel Studios. And I get it. I truly get it. But the facts are, I feel like it might lead to that. It might lead to where it only appeals who hate the MCU and do a massive nostalgia goggles to the other two Spider-Man franchises that were successful at the beginning, but ultimately crashed and burned. Now, I think personally, if it goes where I want it to go, to where it leads to a Spider Verse universe, to where it connects to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, along with Sony's new universe that they're trying to create and going forward with that direction, I think it will be a great idea to return to yours truly, the people that started all of this, and pretty much ghost stories not ghost stories, go the stories that really would be great. What I'm trying to say is they could do a great things going forward on this whole going back to where it all began. Because when you really look at it, when Marvel really started on their films, it was Blade, X-Men, and Spider-Man. And Spider-Man was a massive successful. I went to all three films on the Sam Raimi version, and that was the beginning of the age of Marvel films, and you could truly see that with the Sam Raimi fans. The Mark Webb fans, yeah, many fans have their love and hate relationship. I thought that was basically the Spider-Man that fit that character that I really liked the most. Um, but yet again, that's just me. I think Andrew Garfield is the perfect Spider-Man. That's just how I feel. So I personally feel like it would be a great idea doing it, but I also feel like it will lead to them disting Marvel and just going their own path, and we're going to go back to square one. That makes me scared for the future for Spider-Man. At the same time, when I think about that, because when I think about that, that makes me worry. Oh dear God! Oh man, they're gonna go do what I think they're gonna do. Oh man, and it goes crashes and burns, and everyone's gonna be begging Marvel to go fucking grab their asses. I guarantee you, if they do that, they will do it once. They'll do it again. And don't you fucking idiot Sam Raimi fans, Mark Webb fans who hate the MCU Spider-Man, which really, I'm just like looking you guys like you guys are a bunch of idiots and you don't know jack shit about anything. All you care about is what I grew up with crap. And I hate that mentality. I really do. I think it's the most dumbass mentality you will ever have in a fan base. And thanks. Yeah, I've been watching Dio. Yeah, I've been watching him. He's fucking amazing. But anyway, but I mean, the facts are, I mean, it's just that makes me scared for the future for Spider-Man. So I'm like, to know this could appeal to the haters, and the haters might get their way, but in the end, they'll lose it at the same time. And it is what it is. So I'm all for it, but I think personally it might lead to Sony distance themselves. And I really don't want that. I want to where it connects to everything and it builds up to the Spider-Verse cinematic universe. What I'm trying to say is like it bridges all the Spider-Man characters that I want so bad, because I guarantee you, let's say Marvel got the rights to Spider-Man. Let's say they do that. Let's say they have it already. Did you really think Marvel will ever do Venom? Do you really think Marvel will ever do fucking Spider-Girl, Spider-Gwen, any other characters besides Spider-Man and Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew? That's the only two characters, and also Miles. Got to put him in there too. That's the only thing I can see. I don't see them doing Venom. I don't see them doing Spider-Man 2099, my favorite Spider-Man. I don't see them doing Spider-Man Noir. I don't see them doing any other version of Spider-Man besides those characters I just named off. The three characters. Maybe Spider-Gwen if they really want to go there. But yet again, I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to just do their own little way and just pretty much going forward. This is the point I love about Sony, what they're going for. But if they don't do it carefully, what I really am hoping that they do, and they cave into those haters that hate the MCU version of Spider-Man, which honestly, like, look, I get it with the problems on that character, but I feel like he hasn't got the right proper development, just like the Andrew Garfield. When I'm speaking is Andrew Garfield never got a chance to truly shine his version of Spider-Man. He got fucking stripped off because of Sony's bullshit, and the fans hated that version of Spider-Man. Now they're praising the shit out of him, which honestly makes me kind of laugh, because when that shit happens to the MCU Spider-Man, it's just going to be the same old shit. Is it too late? No, I don't think it's never too late. I don't think it isn't too late to have those two characters. And plus, I'm going to have you come in right now. Get your ass in the... All right. Get into the ship. We'll discuss it together. All right. Hey, it might lead to it. It might lead to it. That's the thing. And plus, you want to come in, you can come in now. Just really, oh my God. And by the way, oh, there we go.
Before we start.
All right, here we go. All right. Oh, we got somebody else. 616. Yo, 616. What's going on, man?
Hey. Hey, 661.
All right. So apparently, Sony's reporting that they're doing it. I've been consistently hearing this. They're doing it, which honestly, if they're going to have them in this new movie of Spider-Man, they might as well just have their movie. But yet again, it's like, it better be like tying all the loose threads. But yet again, at the same time, Andrew Garfield they have to change up a lot, or have a made up new story. You get what I mean?
Yeah, soft reboot.
That too. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm worried that it's going to lead to them disting Marvel. And I really don't want that. I really don't. Because, I mean, like, I just feel it's like, oh boy, it's going to lead to that. And I'm like, and then them fucking it up. And I'm like, should have never done that, Sony. We should have never done that. And also, but yet again, I'm like, at the same time, I kind of want them to go do other Spider-Man characters. Like, I know they're doing a Silk series on Amazon Prime, which is really gracious enough. They're doing it. But I mean, huh?
Moon Silk, right? No,
yeah, that's Silk. Yeah,
yeah. Her daughter also gets thinking what point, but I really don't remember her name.
Yeah, go try her book. She's really good. She's really cool.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to do the Spider-Verse route with everything for Sony.
Yeah, which is fine if they tie it into the MCU. Like, make it where not everything has to be in there, but it's like in the core, the MCU version is there. So we know they're doing it like celebrating the whole cinematic Spider-Man. But it's connected so they could do well. And then eventually we'll have like a fifth and a fourth and a sixth MCU Spider-Man going to do these different Spider-Man movies.
Well, I don't like you. I really want a Flash Thompson Agent Venom, but we're MCU version. I don't think we'll ever see that.
Sony was going to do that.
I'm like, no, don't do that. I mean, seriously, just have it where yours truly, the Mark Webb version in that multiverse. Just to have
Chris Silka, Flash Thompson. I love that version of Flash Thompson.
I thought he was perfect. I'm like, dude, I can't wait for him to become, like, I see him as Agent Venom. I'm like, hell yeah. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you read the recent Venom comic. They supposedly brought him back in the comics, which I'm like, I'm really hoping he takes the Venom mantle back. Because, I mean, like, he's the only one I can prove after Eddie Brock. You get what I mean?
Yeah. They were gonna do like Agent Venom for Sony. I think that was
going to be a mixture of. It was going to be a mixture of Eddie Brock and Agent Venom, which really. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the one where Eddie Brock is like a war veteran who loses his legs, who is a journalist. And it was going to be like Sinister Six, part of Sinister Six or something.
Yeah, it was going to be all that shit, which I'm like, oh God, no, please, please.
And God, Carnage was going to be in there too. He was going to be like a random guy.
I'm not a big fan of symbiote scenes in Sinister Six. I'll be honest with you. I really dislike when the Sinister Six have a symbiote.
But that's like Sony. That's all they can do. They love rehashing some of the the tradition.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the whole problem with the Spider-Man fans. They want the rehash with the MCU version. I mean, granted, I mean, like, I'll say, am I a little happy that Spider-Man isn't with MJ or Gwen? Not really. I mean, like, the MJ that we all think of. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I am annoyed. But I mean, at the same time, it does somewhat bother me that Norman Osborn hasn't appeared yet. I mean, I really feel like Norman Osborn should have appeared at least somewhat in this universe. Now, granted, maybe Armor Wars could lead to that because I heard a rumor going around. This is like years ago that they were featuring the Dark Avengers, and Norman Osborn was going to be one of the main villains.
That would have been perfect for like post-Civil War, like in the MCU.
Yeah, that's true. That's another thing too. Yeah, that's the one thing. But yet again, at the same time, if I think of what this is what I'm hoping for them to do, I want them to continue on to pretty much have where Norman Osborn, it's kind of like the Donald Trump scenario. Make him be like that guy where you can't touch him. You cannot touch him. He's very much untouchable. No matter if he's a bad guy, you just can't touch him. And that's where I want
Make him the edgy Tony Stark. I feel like that's where they would go with it.
That too, but and also like, I mean, there's a few actors I have in mind. I forgot his name. Shit, he was in the Men in Black. One, not Will Smith.
Camilla Jones.
Yeah. I really want him, but yet again, if they get the actor who played Green Goblin from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and they have where, you're gonna be in you're gonna be playing Norman Osborn for probably the rest of your life, practically, because we're gonna use you to pretty much mold the whole Sinister Six, and we're gonna use you for the Dark Avengers, and have where, we're gonna have you pretty much have the disassemble the Avengers, the original Avengers, and you have that whole arc of that whole thing. It's like it would just be one big saga, and it would be really cool. And you could add the Dark Reign storyline where the villains rule.
Do all the Bendis era stuff, which is that's what it feels like they're going.
Which I'm hoping for, because Bendis put out some best stuff. Love it or hate his work, he put out some great Marvel stuff.
I think that the main problem with Bendis is that he creates pretty good stories, but he doesn't know how to handle for a long time.
What do you mean?
At the beginning, his stories are pretty good, but with the time, he stretches a lot, and the story begins to going to downhill, more durably.
Oh, I gotcha. I get that. His X-Men really shown that he dragged a lot of stuff. His Iron Man book were good. I didn't care for his Doctor Doom book. I mean,
I really love what Infamous Iron Man, or what Iron Man comic book you mean?
The Infamous Iron Man.
Infamous Iron Man was my favorite one of my favorite parts, really.
I didn't really care for it because that wasn't the Iron Man. That didn't really felt like an Iron Man book. It
wasn't like Tony Stark adopted in that one, or wait?
No, that happened. That happened before the thing of Infamous Iron Man.
That was
before Civil War 2 happened. That
was the Gillian run of Iron Man.
Oh, Marvel Now.
Yeah, Marvel Now. Where he wore the black and gold armor and all that stuff. Yeah. That's all into that stuff. And they all introduce Iron Man 2020. Arnold Stark, which great character, piss poor handled. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like with like some comics and maybe into the movies.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a movie made, I feel like they should always make their own path, but also respect the character, like the traits and who he is, but like do their own thing.
I feel like it would be good if it were they promote the character. But I mean, here's my problem with this is my problem with Marvel and DC. They have so much characters they don't utilize. Like for me, I always feel like Iron Man should have his villains. If you're going to have him face his villains, you should have them, at least one of the villains, be shown up into the movies, which they did. And they didn't at the same time.
Like Ghost? He was
no, not that. Ghost was more like an exception because they wanted to have, because Ant-Man was like, Ant-Man has very few villains, so they kind of took we're going to take Ghost and go forward with that direction. And I would not be surprised if Madame Mask was one of the villains for Hawkeye.
Well, she already appears in Agent Carter.
That too. But I mean, it's not.
Yeah, and
really...
Echo is gonna be in
Well,
there.
what
Echo
just only with
gonna
me,
show
it
up.
wasn't really Madame Mask. Just
But yet
with
again,
me.
I don't really, I don't put that in like slowly loose canon. Like I put that in like some bits, like maybe the first season, but I don't really like for me, the biggest problem with the Marvel shows, it never felt canon. It was always loosely based. Like you feel like it's in the MCU, but it really don't reference too
The
much.
ABC ones, right? The ABC ones, Agents of Shield and Agent Carter, right?
I never felt like Agents of Shield really did anything, and I really felt like.
Yes, and I really dislike its version of Ghost Rider. Feels like very rushed and very pressured.
I mean, I'm not going to deny. Like, I personally, if you had it my way, I would just have it where it's Nick Fury that's in the shots. He's in command. I really dislike the fact that we brought back Agent Coulson. Why? What happens if the Avengers ever find out the sole reason of why they pulled together on the first Avengers film?
Yes, and the worst part is actually Coulson is already dead. They killed him again.
They did? Because
in the last seasons they killed him again.
Because the last time I saw them, he went out to his fucking car. And that last
Agents of Shield is like CSI Marvel. That's pretty much it.
Yes, but this really doesn't have any engaging to me. I mean, have a tons of interesting potential, but they never handle things very interesting, honestly. And I think that difference to WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and the Netflix shows who had very few episodes per season, the problem with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that have a lot of episodes per season, and just like in CW shows, they put a lot of filler.
That's another thing too, which honestly, like I want Marvel shows to feel like they're a part of something, like they're building something. And that's what I liked about Falcon and the Winter Soldier and also WandaVision. They're slowly teasing you what they're going to do later down the line. And it makes me looking forward to the future of Marvel because I can guess what they're going to do. And it makes me looking forward to their films because I know deep down they're in good hands.
Yes, but like I told you, in cinema they don't have very much future right now for the COVID thing.
But yet again, you could say that with all films. You can say that with all movies where they have
they need to move to streaming, and that I mean, I don't say that they stop making movies, just need to rethink where putting their movies. I think they should do Disney Plus movies for a time, I think, because honestly, in cinema they are going a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true. And I really kind of feel like, I agree with you. They should go to live stream, but or main
TV.
Or TV, like stuff like that, or just have where, like yet again, I could also say the same thing where why release your MCU film if you could just release that into your streaming platform? I mean, look at Netflix; they put out like thousands and dozens of films and dozens of TV shows in their streaming platforms. The streaming thing is killing movie theaters and TV. This is the whole thing I say about my friends. Like, TV is dying as well as yours truly movies. It's only hit for it right now on the movies because we have a pandemic, and it's made it proven as a fact where eventually they're going to have to adapt. And it's going to kill movie theaters as slowly, bit by bit. But yet again, do you think movies are going to keep going like this? Because eventually we're going to have like a vaccine to where it's immune. Can really push the whole COVID shit. You get what I mean?
I haven't been to the theaters in a while. Or a long time.
Like I told you before, here in Latin America, there are doesn't any cinemas anymore.
Say that again. Wait, what? Oh, I'm sorry.
Where I live, there aren't cinemas anymore. All cinemas they broke. Here where I live, all cinemas broke. They closed.
They went out of business?
Yes.
Oh shit!
Police and Cinemex.
Damn, fuck me. That sucks.
Yes, a lot.
I mean, but I mean, like for me, I just feel like. Now, I want to know from you. Do you think that it might lead to them disting Marvel and like the whole Sony, the whole Sony bullshit? My worries of Sony will, if they ever do Spider-Man 4 and Amazing Spider-Man 3, they might slowly distance themselves for appealing the haters, because that's my biggest fears. I don't want that, but that's just me. But I mean, go.
Speaking of Spider-Man 4, did you remember that when J.J. Abrams' comic of Spider-Man, they bait people saying that it will be a Spider-Man 4 comic? It was very funny.
A lot of people. I even
the countdown thing. They started by Spider-Man 4, then Spider-Man 3, then Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, and people think that they are doing a comic of Spider-Man 4, but indeed was a countdown, and all the internet exploding that time.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm just fearing for the worst, because I'm like, I want Spider-Man to still be in the MCU, and I want this version to continue, because I don't want to get Amazing Spider-Man flashbacks. Because I'm like, as much as I love the MCU version, I also just really shrug hard on, like, God damn, we really miss up. I mean, Sony really fucked themselves really bad on the whole.
Too many reboots.
That too, but also really hurt the character. Because, I mean, I get it. They wanted to hold the rights in. They half-fasted because Sam Raimi couldn't do enough time. He wanted more time on the whole Spider-Man 4, and he didn't get that, so he decided to say, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. And
yes, I'm quit.
Yeah, and pretty much Sony jumped, and they jumped quick. And that's where Sony realized, like, oh, great, we got to reboot this entire whole thing. And they hired Mark Webb, they hired all this shit, and they, to be fair, it worked at the beginning, and it crashed and burned so fast, it bothered the shit out of me. And it's like,
bad foundations.
Yes, but there is a pretty funny thing. Do you know why the Amazing Spider-Man 2 doesn't get a lot of money on box office? Do you know why?
Because they fucking literally marketed the shit out of it. And pretty much.
Yes, but there is a pretty funny thing. The movie was released before in Latin America and then in the United States, because in Latin America we have 2 weeks of vacations in April. And Sony approached that to release the movie. They think that thing will make more success, but the problem is that the movie was filtered entirely in the internet to that times. To Mayo, to 2040 May, basically the movie was already online, and that's why a lot of people doesn't go to cinema to watch it.
That really, but yet again, I'm like, but also, could you understand, like, how I feel? Like, I mean, like, I really don't want Spider-Man to pretty much end up like what we had before. I mean, that's what my biggest concern is, like, we might go back to square one with the Spider-Man franchise. Because I mean, like, I look at the future, and that's something I always look at with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like, they're not done for a long period of time. They're going to milk X-Men. They're going to milk Fantastic Four. And it might, like, for me, that's why I kind of see like 2030, 2040-ish, maybe around 2045, they might be done. But, I mean, that's the problem that I feel like after that, I mean, like, then you should reboot it. But when I look at Spider-Man, I'm like, I see a great opportunity. And I don't want them to just say, oh, yeah, thanks for the good gig, Marvel and Disney. We're going to hightail it out and pretty much go by. and we don't see Spider-Man at all.
And the fan bases as well. The fan bases online is just constantly different versions of Spider-Man and people's versions fighting each other over them.
Yeah, that's another thing, too, which is honestly kind of, and it also reminds me of the Star Wars fans. Oh, I mean, you got the prequel fans, you got the original trilogy fans, you got the sequel trilogy fans, you
have the Legend fans, the Disney fans, the game fans.
You got the special edition fans.
Oh yes, and believe me or not, they are holiday special fan base.
Yeah, something like that. But it's just, I mean, granted, I look at the Star Wars fans as a joke because, I mean, like, they're the reason why we're in this situation on Star Wars. But I mean, that's a whole different subject. And but I mean, you know, I really just feel like with Marvel and also this could fuck the whole video games, because I mean, they're doing Spider-Man 2 right now, or Spider-Men, which honestly I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Call it
the PS4 sequel, right?
Yeah, PS5. Yeah, PS5.
Yeah, and Bendis gets a check.
Yeah, too. It's funny that everyone hated Bendis for replacing Spider-Man, but yet his character is the most populous character in the whole wide world. I mean, everyone is saying we got the perfect. Like, I see a lot of the Miles fans just saying we got the perfect Spider-Man movie, we got the perfect Spider-Man game. All we need now is the perfect live action, and we're set for life. And I'm like, yeah, true. I mean,
can you remember the time when people hate Miles just because he wasn't Peter Parker? That time was very funny.
Yeah, that's true. But also another thing is like, and that's another thing too. Like, I don't know about you guys, but how do you feel Daisy Ridley becoming Spider-Woman?
She's a pretty good actress. Just gave her a pretty good script.
That's right.
Fun fact: he hates the sequel trilogy for how they treat her.
Yes, I heard, and I could understand her frustration.
But they still got money at the end of the day. Like.
I mean,
yes, but have in mind that a lot of actors do the thing they do because they loved it, and the money is a pretty second thing. So I really feel like when actors pissed, they really feel pissed.
Yeah.
I mean, like, could you also say the same thing with Hayden Christensen? Because I mean, like, to be fair, I feel like he got just as bad or even worse. Because
and don't start with Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, the little kid.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, which I feel I blame the the Star Wars fans for fucking up his career, because I mean, anyone that gets hate on like a little child kid, I'm like, dude, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. Like, I really feel like that's just wrong, and I really feel like if we really had him be the Anakin, I think maybe the Star Wars prequel trilogy would be slightly different, but yet again, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to look at a different timeline. But I mean, it's just the facts are. I just feel like, you know, the whole Spider-Man franchise and everything between. I just don't want to get flashbacks of Spider-Man 2 vibes, where it's like we're continuing and we're saying goodbye to the other version of Spider-Man because of, it's not our work. And they're also, like, I could say the same thing to yours truly, Warner Brothers. Oh man, they're doing the same with the whole, like, we're doing our new version of Batman and we're getting rid of.
In synthesis, fuck you, Snyder is basically what Warner is doing.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't want that. I just don't want that. I mean, I'd rather just have it where we go forward with our new direction and just have it where it's like we end that character. And if we're going to reboot it, just like at least end that character. That's what I'm saying. Like, and I feel like we're not giving that opportunity. Now, granted, I mean, like, could we get it? Yeah, sure. But I mean, it's just, I really feel like we got to be careful with this because we might piss people off on this whole thing. You get what I mean? I mean, I feel like Warner Brothers fucked us over. Like, granted, at least we got a trilogy of MCU Spider-Man, and it's probably going to be the most successful trilogy. Sorry, Sam Raimi fanboys. The whole thing of, our new the whole MCU Spider-Man's got the most successful trilogy yet, and not one of them was a bad fucking note. And also another thing, I thank Sony for kind of improvising. Oh, Bella, get into the link, my good, beautiful friend. get into the link. I was actually wondering whenever you're gonna come because I'm actually wondering like, is she coming? Get into the link, my Bella. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, back to the whole main topic. Like, it's just, how do you feel? That's what I want to know. Like, do you think?
Kind of remind me what happened with Halo, because after a lot of people dislike the art of Halo 4 and Halo 5, to Halo 6, Halo Infinite, they redesign everything to look like in Halo 3.
Yeah.
And despite I really like the designs of Halo 3, I really love the designs of Halo 4 and Halo 5, and really feel like kind of bad for the designers today. They say, go to hell your art. We need the old art, and feels like kind of bad for me. Because, like I say, I really love the classic style of Halo, but the new one isn't really that bad to be thrown away.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, I mean, Halo 5 was pretty bad in story, but in art it was pretty good, and this is what they changed in the art. And really, it's kind of bothering me that.
That's yeah, you got a point there. Because like sometimes it kind of ruins everything. And yet again, I feel like the same thing with the whole, like the last time round. Like I really felt like you stripped almost everything, almost bare bones of Spider-Man. And that really kind of hurts the MCU because he never had the opportunity to have his Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy and all those characters. And I get it, like they don't want to use those characters, but yet again, it's like, granted, you could also say like it could be just money reasons that Sony said, nope, we're not giving you shit. Nope, we're not giving you that either. You could have Peter Parker, you could do your own Spider-Man, but you're not going to do jack shit on anything. Which I'm like,
yeah, it's a Sony. I heard it's a Sony thing.
Aviara thing, yes, Aviara is very close in mind.
Yeah, he can go fuck off for all I care. He's half the problems that we have with Spider-Man. I mean, that fucking guy literally killed the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, killed the Mark Webb Spider-Man, and it's like we got lucky that the Venom movie that they wanted to do so badly, which I was all for it, but I'm like, they wanted to do their own little Venom movie, and it worked to a degree. If you took certain things out, it would have been a good movie. I mean, and I'm talking about the whole part where he eats that fucking fish, and
Goofy
I'm like,
Venom.
Oh God. Hey, Anthony, get your ass in here.
Yes, did you hear that? Actually, Tom Hardy said that the movie was originally R-rated, but they cut a lot of scenes out to be the movie could be.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. I heard about that.
I really feel bad because you really can hear the pain in Tom Hardy when he said that.
Here's one thing about that. I'm okay with a PG-13 Venom movie.
Yes, I mean, we don't need to have a lot of edgy things, but the fact that they cut a lot of scenes is what kind of annoyed me.
But like, I'm okay with a Venom movie. It's more like it's the whole principle factor. If it's not due to Carnage, absolutely do PG-13. I mean, he's a character that I really feel like can work for both. He's like Venom in a lot of ways. Not Venom, Wolverine. Wolverine can work as a PG-13 because there are books that kind of contain his little violent stories. And I feel like if we're going to do stuff like where, he's going to pretty much have where he's going to have PG-13 films, but when it comes to Carnage and that God Symbiote character that's in Marvel right now, in the Venom comics, yeah, go for guns blazing.
Null, the symbiote god, Null.
Yeah, him. I would have him to be the trilogy, and then after that, at the ending of that whole thing, have it where they pretty much pass it down to Agent Venom, and it's the whole that and the Agent Venom Flash Thompson version I'll be using is the Mark Webb's Agent Venom.
Chris Hilka Flash, right?
Yeah, that's the one, because I don't see anything else picking. Like I couldn't. I'm sorry, I couldn't. Not in a million years, I could see yours truly, the MCU version, becoming that character. He's just too like there's a point where I just don't buy him as that character. Like I mean, like Flash Thompson's supposed to be a bully, but he's not supposed to be like.
Yeah, but the problem is Flash is technically not just a bully. He's also a pretty good heart people, the best friend of Peter Parker, a brave soldier, a lot of things.
And also a humongous Spider-Man fan. I mean, like I would have had him. Like if I did like. If I changed somewhat of the MCU Spider-Man, I would have made it where Flash Thompson loves Spider-Man. Like he looks up to him, where he's like have a picture of Spider-Man and Peter noses it, and he kind of sees that he's a white guy, not a Hispanic guy.
Indian. He's Indian.
Indian. Yeah, okay. I would have had it where he goes forward to like, oh yeah, he's heavily inspired. He joins the military. He tells Peter, like, take good care of Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy because I'm heading to the military. I want to be a hero just like Spider-Man. And you could have that whole moment where even Spider-Man shows up to kind of say hello to him. And you could have where that whole moment where you made me what I am today, Spider-Man, I'm so proud of you. And you could have that whole moment together with Flash Thompson. The problem is when you look at the MCU Flash Thompson, it's a fucking shit version, and it's one of the worst parts of the MCU Spider-Man stuff. I will defend the MCU Spider-Man character with my life because there are realistic things into that character that
like Vulture. I really love Vulture. He's my favorite live-action Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, like the whole villains are great. Mysterio, Vulture.
Well, Mysterio, it's pretty good acted, but the writing is for me because
all the casualties will be forgotten.
I like. Here's the reason why I like Mysterio a little bit more than Vulture. I like it to where it's more focused on Tony Stark to agree because where everything I agree, everything connects to Tony Stark because A1 he's started this universe, but they have that whole connection together and they have that father and son in a way to agree, which I approve to an extent. But I mean, I'm hoping that this new movie of Spider-Man can explain it to where Peter looked up to Tony as like a second father, and he felt like he never had a chance to have a good father and son, Uncle Ben direction like the other previous two did, and you could go forward with that direction, which I'm hoping they do. They have their opportunity now. If they blew it now, it's lights out. I mean, that's lights out. I mean, that's where it's going to be pissed off for me. But I mean, it is what it is, and I just feel like I really there's a lot of things I like about the MCU Spider-Man. But there's a lot of things I really wish that we could have had a Gwen Stacy and all this stuff, but it's upsetting. It's really upsetting. That
studio interference is
that true. That too. But yet again, at the same time, they might use that character for other reasons.
Yeah, I heard they're using Gwen for Spider-Gwen, and then Mary Jane for maybe Jackpot or a Spider-like character.
That's a totally different character. They might have Mary Jane to be another Spider-Woman because there's a different version of Mary Jane to where she's Spider-Woman.
Which the Ultimate show or the
Renew Your Vows. The Renew Your Vows direction.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, because remember in Ultimate Spider-Man she becomes Spider-Girl after he absorbed Carnage, but in Renew Your Vows she used a special suit.
Yeah, exactly. So they're gonna do that direction with that character, which yes, that is great. In one way, we could see that character which honestly, that was probably one of the best directions for that character. I mean, besides Peter's love interest. But I mean,
and Tony Stark's secretary. Remember that he was the secretary of Tony.
Oh God, I remember trolling all my friends on that shit. Hey Peter, I stole your girlfriend. But I mean, just the whole fact of, with Spider-Man and the whole direction on it. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but it scares me on that whole problems that we are going to face. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, like, I really just feel like, I mean, if they really want to do it, go ahead. But I mean, I really don't want it to go where, oh yeah, thanks for your whole direction, thanks for the money and the support, Marvel.
We go to our proper version.
Yeah, which honestly, it's like that's where I'm like, oh great. I hope everyone's proud because you guys asked for it. Because when this shit happens and the whole thing on everything direction on this whole thing, we got nothing to blame but yourself because we signed up for this shit and just no one wants to and that's another thing too. No one wants to say they're one of the reasons why this is the way it is on the problems that we have now. Like, I mean, for example, I mean, the whole thing of no more love stories with Mary Jane and Peter Parker, that was a massive demand of no more love interests. They wanted to have Spider-Man interacting with other characters, but yet everyone is begging for that now. It's like, make up your fucking mind, people. I mean, it's just like, I really get a little bit of aggravated and just a little frustration that I'm like, we sign up for this, and yet no one wants to take the fucking L for that very reason. And it's just, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, no, I feel like
Spidey feels like he's too popular for his own good.
That's true. I mean, like,
and most of the fan base is pretty close with mine.
That too. I mean, like, very close-minded and very stupid. I mean, like, there's like, dude, I met a fucking Sam Raimi fanboys.
Oh, those are the worst part.
Oh, you mean Alex from High Top Films and every video?
It's not a real Spider-Man film. It's not a good Spider-Man film.
No, I don't. Who? No,
it's a guy who have a channel where he review movies, and he always cry because he say that this movie is not a good character movie. Like example, he say Batman v Superman is not a good Batman movie, and that is why he's bad. And the same with Spider-Man. He basically made a critique of Spider-Man Homecoming, but the entire video was just comparing with Spider-Man 2. Which is stupid because Spider-Man Homecoming is the first movie and Spider-Man 2 is the second.
Hold on. What's the name of his channel? What's the name of his channel?
High Top Films.
High Top. Could you just put that down on the chat box?
Bro, he and his friend, Brown Table, are the most toxic people that you have ever seen.
Oh, I met worse. I mean, trust me, buddy. I had a fucking toxic idiot named fucking Alex Bitchass. AKA Unreal Gaming. I mean,
and what do you think about Cosmonaut Variety?
I don't know.
You know that asshole?
I don't know. I don't think I met him. Maybe I did, but I mean, like,
he's another guy with a bunch of like controversial opinions to set the internet aflame, of course.
Like, he made a lot of videos with the name Worse Than You Remember that he basically just throw shit to popular movies, and he say, I don't like it, so it's bad. Sorry.
Oh, let's see.
He basically say, if I don't like a movie, the movie is bad. And this is what annoys me.
That's a fucking piss poor argument. I could fucking say, if I don't like something, like, for example, I don't like Alien Covenant. I think that movie killed Alien. And granted, I'm going to give everything on Disney on the support.
Fuck Aliens.
Yes.
Wait.
It's bad.
Yes,
I'm looking at, like, I'm trying to find his I'm trying to find his channel, but wait a minute. Is it this guy? Hold on. Post it right here. Is it this guy? Hold on. Just put it right here. I think this is it. Hold on. This is it? Is this the guy?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I see.
Just watch his thumbnails. His thumbnails talk for him.
I seen this guy. I used to like him a lot. I really did. I really liked him a lot. But the moment he started to love the shit out of it on fucking the
Dark Knight?
The Sam Raimi trilogy, I'm like, oh boy, I'm done.
And the Dark Knight trilogy also.
The Dark Knight trilogy, the first two were great. Everything else, the third one sucked balls. I'm sorry. Bane, like, you could tell, like, I mean, in the previous two movies, there were heart and soul in that film. But in this one, like, the third one, no.
That's because Nolan never had a plan really for the third one except for like a small outline of Heath Ledger coming back. But once Heath Ledger died, he didn't really want to do it.
Yeah, basically, the death of Heath Ledger killed Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, Dark Knight Rises. Like, you know the scene where Scarecrow is in the like judge?
Yes, he's a lawyer in that movie.
Yeah, that was supposed to be like the Joker as the judge, and then like...
Yeah, that's something I could see, because there was one person that did a Mark Hamill impression, and I'm thinking, Joker would do that a lot, almost announcing everyone, and the whole thing of, I'm the bad guy, I'm here to do all this crazy shit, and therefore, and the whole backbreaker, oh god, it was trash.
One question, people. What do you watch the recent animated series of Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man? The 2017.
The 90s or the...
No, the recent one, the 2017, the Marvel's Spider-Man.
I only seen a couple episodes. I liked it. What I saw.
The show is pretty rushed, honestly.
I mean, like, to be fair,
it kind of got better, but it's like very mediocre.
Yeah, it's mediocre. I'll say, yeah, it's mediocre. But I'll say this right now: once you do almost everything of Spider-Man, you really don't know where to go from there. It's the same thing towards Batman and Superman, to a degree. Once you do the best cartoon of that character, it's really hard to top that. And I really feel like the 90s version really holds it to be the best Spider-Man. I'm sorry, Spectacular Spider-Man fans.
Well, I'm kind of between both, because, Spectacular have better development, but I think that the 90s version had a lot of very good stories, honestly. But I think that the really thing that annoys me from the 90 version is that the characters have a lot of flashbacks for every episode. Every time they need to introduce a character, the character appear and have a flashback. That's a thing that, I mean, the story is pretty good, but making flashbacks every time kind of annoys me.
It could be easily fixed with a couple of like re-edits.
Well, to be fair, I honestly kind of feel like it's a little bit introducing a character that's really great.
Yeah.
But I mean, the facts are, and this is something I really I'm going to say this right now, and it really bothers me. It really hurts that show never got concluded, the animated series.
Yes, it actually was canceled before the last two episodes were released.
Yeah, and they had scripts of the whole, Mary Jane is in a dimension, and how we're...
And Carnage is Jack the Ripper.
And that too, and also Hobgoblin was going to be in there, and you're going to have all this...
Green Goblin was going to come back.
And Sandman, because the movie was canceled. Because remember that Sandman never appeared because they were appearing James Cameron film, but James Cameron film were canceled, so they can...
I mean, like, it almost makes me like, why don't fucking Marvel does a comic book of that shit? I mean, you did X-Men. I mean, it just... Granted, to be fair, I wanted X-Men to kind of go forward where they do other stories with X-Men. That show really had an ending point. And I'm glad that show ended on the way it did, because now...
And Iron Task also have an ending, a pretty good one for me.
I mean, but yet again, my problem with like shows like Spider-Man, the animated series, Spectacular, Marvel, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Oh god, I fucking hate you, Jeff Lowe. But I mean, I got nothing else to say, because I mean, like, I'm just hoping later down the line they go forward.
But I really hate the actual shows of Marvel, and actually the animated ones, because they feel so cheap, so poorly, so lazy.
Yeah,
I mean, have you watched Avengers Assemble? and how basically they made 3D backgrounds and the characters are basically gray in color.
Like I'll say this, it's a cheap perspective. They're doing that because of it's cheap, and it's not hard to do all that stuff. When you look at animation and you look at a lot of stuff, it's very difficult.
Yes, I know that a lot because, but I think that the main problem with but I could forgive every single animation error if at least the show was good in stories. But the problem with the actual Marvel shows, it feels like they never know what to do. They just make a lot of random things in the shows. Have you watched, like example, in the third season of Avengers Assemble, they called Ultron Revolution, but Ultron literally appears just in 3 episodes, and the rest basically doesn't have anything to do with Ultron.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty.
Yeah, because at that time they were just all about tying it into the movies. It's got to be like the movies.
Yeah, or it's got to be somewhat familiar to the films, and that's really the worst direction. And that makes me kind of feel like, what kind of bullshit is this?
Yes, like the games, because remember that before 2017, all the games are smartphone games based in MCU.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like that's the whole reason why they stopped doing video games, because there were failures, and it really stopped. It really shows to where, like, granted, I mean, Marvel's Avengers is somewhat successful now. I mean, like, it's not great, but I mean, it could have been a whole lot better. I mean, like,
I feel like it was made at that time where a lot of people were saying it was made at that time where Inhumans were supposed to be replacing the X-Men.
Yeah, but the biggest problem with yours truly, the whole problem with the fucking Avengers game is just the whole principal factor of it had a very weak villain.
MODOK, right?
Yeah, the MODOK, yeah. And AIM in general. And it's like, I get whether they really want to show AIM's true greatness, but they're a joke as a villain. They're not. They were never, ever that great of a villains. You could have had the Masters of Evil. You could have had everything be introduced. Like, granted, you could have still had Kamala Khan reassembled the Avengers, but you needed more villains in MODOK. Like, have where he has all of the Avengers as villains. Loki.
The Masters of Evil.
Yeah, so
Loki have a cameo, but his cameo is he disguises a story in a video.
Yeah, he had only 2 missions of that whole 4 story. Which, granted, that is like a missed opportunity because I don't know if that's ever going to be continued. Maybe it might be. I mean, who knows? But I mean, the problem is, it's just, I really feel like they really miss opportunity on a lot of things. And granted, I'm glad the Hawkeye DLC and the Black Panther and that other DLC that's coming before Black Panther. The whole Agent Carter. Yeah, I think that's Agent Carter, or the second main villain that was with MODOK. His sidekick, whatever, that's leading into Kamala, not Kamala. God, I forgot her name. Fucking I forgot her name. Shit, damn it.
The second Hawkeye.
The second villain in Marvel's Avengers. She was with
his assistant.
Yes, her the assistant of MODOK, the little girl that is with him in all the game, that right?
Yeah. And you had to face her a few times, and that's the character she's gonna face. She's gonna face old Hawkeye in a DLC later this year. Which I'm glad they're trying to going forward to put content out, and they're putting skins out, and they're throwing everything what fans like me would want. I mean, granted, I don't really care too much of the MCU skins. I mean, I know they're only appealing to certain fan base. The only skins I would buy is the Iron Man skins, and that's really it. and maybe the Spider-Man skins, and that's it. I mean, like when I did the Spider-Man Let's Play, I had a lot of MCU skins being shown. And I will say this: Spider-Man costumes in the MCU are the best. I'm sorry, that shit's. I mean, the black and red.
The Night Monkey.
Huh?
The Night Monkey suit you're talking, right? Or the super inspired? Because remember that in Far From Home he used three: the normal, the Night Monkey, and the final, which is inspired in Superior. The red and black, right?
I'm the red and black one. That's and with the whole webs thing, that was heavily inspired by the original Amazing Fantasy costume. And
yeah, because if you put good eye, the suit is actually not black; it's dark blue.
Oh, really? Because I always thought it was black. I always thought.
Yes, when you watch the movie in high quality and you watch when he's in the bridge with light.
Hold on. Are you talking about the movie or are you talking about the comic? I'm sorry. Like
no, the movie suit.
Oh, okay.
The movie suit is dark blue, no black. When you watch the suit have a lot of sunlight, it seems like a pretty dark blue.
Oh, okay. All right. I always looked at it like a dark, like just all black and red, which I really thought that's a great idea. I really like the Far From Home costume. I really do. I really think that is literally the best. I also thought the Iron Spider suit was better than the original. I mean,
actually, the Iron Spider suit of MCU is pretty inspired in MK4, the MK4 suit, because it was a Spider-Man suit with a yellow emblem, but it's a classic suit with metal armor.
Feels like the Ben Riley.
Yes, the one
Ben Riley as well.
This is I
agree. I agree with that. It does get that Ben Riley type style because when you look at the MCU, Iron Spider costume has a big web in the chest area, and I agree with that. I agree with that statement. I think that's a hardcore.
But you know which game have pretty great alternate skins? What? Iron Man VR. The skins in Iron Man VR are beautiful.
Okay. Well, for me, I always thought Marvel did a really good job. Like, I mean, I know everyone has their favorite costume. Like, I like the Mark Webb first costume, not the.
Amazing Spider-Man 1 is my favorite. I actually have a costume of that.
I like that costume. I actually thought that was I really feel like they should have had that costume like a long period of time, and then maybe at the ending of his trilogy, he wears his classic costume full blown. And
he actually returned to that suit in the Spider-Geddon comic because in Spider-Geddon appears the Andrew Garfield version, and he used that suit.
What? In
Spider-Geddon, it's in the final scene appears in the background a lot of different Spider-Man versions. In that version is a spectacular version, 90s version, unlimited version, and it's confirmed by the writer. Andrew Garfield appeared.
Okay, I got you. And speaking about the 90s Spider-Man, I heard there's a massive deadline that particular Spider-Man might be in the sequel Spider-Verse animated sequel, which I'm
the one will appear is Spider-Man, the Japanese version.
I heard they were doing that. They were trying to get the 90s version.
You mean in the sequel of Spider-Verse, right? In the movie, not the comic.
No, we're talking about I'm talking about the movie. I'm not talking about the comic.
I don't want them to ruin him.
The Spider-Verse comic was pretty awful to me.
We got to, and that's another thing too. What happened to Mary Jane? What happened to that's all? And granted, that's another can of worms. I mean, what are we gonna do with that version? I get they're doing.
That looks great.
What? What?
I was looking at his costume.
Oh yeah, I see that. But I mean, to me, if Marvel is going to do without Spider-Man, they could easily replace him. And
they have Ant-Man.
That too, but it's my whole thing is they could easily replace him on the Miss Marvel character because Miss Marvel is going to have basically the same arc that Spider-Man has, and that's why I'm so hoping. I really hope Peter meets with Kamala Khan because she's going to have almost a similar direction with Captain Marvel. And I'm hoping that when they go forward with that character, they have it where, Spider-Man's kind of giving Kamala Khan some advice, because when she meets up with her idol, or when she has a mentor towards her idol, she will have the same story beats that Peter had, and that's something that I'm like, I really am hoping that people don't bash her, but yet again, it's just everybody does. Just they do it just because, and it sometimes pisses me off. I mean, you get what I mean.
Speaking of like butthurt fans, have you ever noticed how like the X-Men fans kind of have this war with Avengers fans or something like that because of the popularity that they've gained over like
yeah, because of to be fair, it was a long time coming. I mean, it was a long time coming, because when you look at it, the real deal, like the whole X-Men has been dominating for the 90s all the way down to the ending of the Fox era of X-Men films. Because when you look at the X-Men Fox era films, it really kind of shows that X-Men was really the top, but now it's the reverse. They don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't have that whole thing anymore. They don't have that spotlight, and they feel like they've been dethroned because of that very reason. And I'm like, I get the reason, hatred towards the whole Avengers fans now, like people like us. Like I've been Avengers fan since my dad before the MCU film, so it's like it's a little bit long time coming.
I remember I actually knew the Avengers for the 90s cartoon. Me too. Avengers,
huh?
In the 90s, Avengers had a pretty bad cartoon.
Oh yeah, don't remind me. Don't remind me.
I feel bad because that was the first thing of Avengers that I see.
Me and my dad watched that, and we're all like, granted, we all liked it at first, but then we all thinking, what the fuck we were thinking? That shit sucked hard.
Originally, it was supposed to be classic Avengers. Like they had a 13-episode pilot to go with the classic Avengers, but then they got like split up through different like animation studios
also,
or something.
I mean, that's like a season where you do it after. That's like where you establish the Avengers. You establish like we saw the Avengers through their days. We had it where we saw the original we saw the original Avengers. Now let's move forward to the new Avengers. And that's where you do the whole unite, we stand type bullshit. They didn't
because United Stand is based on West Coast, right? I heard that.
In a way, yes. In a way, no. It had similar members, but the whole West Coast Avengers, they pretty much had it to where Hawkeye was the main leader, which he was a really cool leader. Surprisingly, I could actually buy him as a leader in the comics, which I actually really liked him in the main books. But I mean, the main problem that I felt that really kind of upset me, and I really felt like they really just pissed me off to a certain degree, and that is, I really wish that they had an episode that you had all the Avengers members. You had Thor, you had Iron Man, you had the whole crew. And you establish after their, let's just say, a reunion together, they kind of had their own separation to going forward to do their own thing. But they didn't do that direction. They didn't do that direction because they wanted to do something completely different, which was for better, for worse. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, like, it was just, that's something that I really felt like it was great to see something like that, but it was also pretty a missed opportunity. And I know they wanted to do Thor, and they had a toy version of Thor already.
Yes, Thor never appeared in the show.
Yeah, he was going to appear in the show with that look, and it was trash. Trash!
And he was going to get a spin-off, apparently. Like, it was supposed to come out in 2000.
Oh, you really? Really? Sure?
Yeah, he was going to get like a television spin-off, like his own animated
I
series.
I don't know that.
I didn't know about that either. Oh wow!
Yeah, Captain America and maybe an Iron Man revival. They were gonna do like those, like in the early 2000s, where
Well, I
like
knew
the 90s.
Captain-
Well, Iron Man Revival was this. Iron Man Avengers.
I know there was a Captain America pilot, and they got
Yeah,
canned.
they have an intro. They even have an intro and like a script where like his real name is like Tommy Tompkins, and Steve Rogers is actually the fake name the government gives him.
Oh, that's such a stupid fucking move.
And there was going to be like no like Nazi symbolism because the show is set in World War II. The show is going to be set in World War II.
Well, that's kind of stupid, but I mean, granted, at least you could have had the Hydra symbol. I mean, like that would have been better. I mean, like
yeah, either they were going to do that or something like close to it, because apparently they weren't even going to do like call it Hydra.
Oh,
which
wow.
is weird.
I mean, like, granted, I'm going to say this. I'm a little surprised that Marvel doesn't do an Iron Man or a Captain America or Hulk or Thor. The characters are already big. It's already there. You got the fan base. That's the biggest problem I have with Marvel now. I mean, like, okay, you establish these characters as big hits. Why don't you do a cartoon out of them? That's where we get to that whole problem of, can you do those characters? Can you bring those characters to life in an animated series? And I don't see them do. And the problem is they don't see as an option, or they just don't care. It's one or the other. That's how I see it.
Wasted potential.
Just watch how the cartoon of Marvel's ended, because literally all are canceled to this point.
I mean, personally, I just don't care about Marvel cartoons. Like, I mean, I like the new Spider-Man cartoon because it's cool. They introduce a couple of characters that I like Ironheart and.
Well, the show is already canceled.
Yeah, I heard, or ended, you could say.
Well, no, because the last episode of season 3 was a cliffhanger. So
really?
Wow.
Holy
Yes,
shit.
they open Spider-Man open a. Well, I don't know it's an enterprise or a building or a university, but he opened a new organization, and they say we are going to recruit more heroes, and the show ends there.
Oh wow, that kind of sucks. Oh well,
for me the show was pretty rushed to that time for me,
well,
because the main problem with Marvel's Spider-Man 2017 is that they really don't know what to do with the show, because they start doing something, but they did something. I mean,
like, I get what they were trying to do. Right? I mean, like, they were trying to do like characters like, okay, let's do Miles, let's do Spider-Gwen, let's do Spider-Girl, let's throw in all this shit in just because that people like it, it will sell. That's what they did. And to be fair, I can somewhat support them, because I mean, I honestly feel like with Spider-Man and like X-Men, like X-Men or Batman, you really don't know where to go with those characters. Right? I mean, like, once you do like the best of the best, it really, or the second best cartoon, it's really hard to and I mean really hard to not repeat those stories.
Well, you can do if you did something like X-Men Evolution and Brave and the Bold, because both shows change a lot of things.
That's true. You mentioned that. I really like Brave and the Bold. That show gets too much hate. I really like that show.
It was a love letter.
It's a really good love letter to the Silver Age Batman comics, which I really did. I actually really liked Silver Age Batman comics because he faced non-big time characters, and there was not less of Joker or any types like that. There were let's say good stories. That's what I liked about it.
But the golden, the silver, and
the show is how they put a lot of characters that people basically don't know, like Big Sage or like Buana Beast. The show basically put a lot of characters that people doesn't know. This is quite surprising, because today you simply don't see DC or Marvel putting less known characters in TV.
Yeah, that's true. And like for me, like what I would want is like I would want them to. Granted, this is probably never going to happen. I would rather just them adapt the Amazing Fantasy, like all the classic Spider-Man stories. Just
they originally planned to do that in 2000, but they rushed that idea and instead do Spider-Man.
I mean, like I mean, like for their streaming platform.
No, yes, but I think that originally the original plan to Spider-Man Unlimited show was to do basically a copy-paste adaptation of Amazing Fantasy and the first comics of Spider-Man. But the thing is that because Sony was making a movie, they doesn't want to a show counts the origins of Spider-Man, so they changed a lot of things and they ended doing Spider-Man Unlimited show.
Yeah, I get it, and I totally understand why. I mean, to be fair, I get their reasons, and honestly, it kind of benefited them because I mean, it did something a little bit original, because they kind of took some ideas from Spider-Man Unlimited. The whole design really is just cardboard copy of them. Of the
and
Spider-Man.
Season 2 would have included
the yellow eyes. I really love the yellow eyes in the suit.
Yeah, that too.
Because remember, in the first episode, before he gets the nanotech suit, he used his classic suit, and it was a black and blue suit with yellow eyes. And my favorite part, the webbing the elbows. I really love when Spider-Man have webbing the elbows.
Yeah, that too. I liked a lot of things, but I mean, like, I really feel like the whole Spider-Man direction, it's just, I really feel like what they were trying to do is just like, either they were trying to have where for the cartoons, let's not do the same shit that we've done over the years, or let's try to do it, but yet again they keep changing. But I mean, I really would want them to just, and this is just my opinion, I don't know if anyone want them to do, like, I want an adaptation of those stories, but all the way up to where we're at right now. I think it would help Disney on their streaming platform, but yet again, we're not going to get that direction because rights, or yet again, they could, because they own the TV.
They own the animation rights, I believe.
They own the animation rights. The only thing they don't own is the movie.
Movie rights. Yeah, movie. I'm like, yet again, they could, but yet again, I don't know. I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, you start to wonder. I'm like, could they do it? I mean, like, that's the thing.
They could do like motion comics, animation. That's pretty cheap, but you could pull it off.
They already did with Marvel Knights.
That too. They did that, and it was great. It was awesome.
Yes, I love a lot. The Agent Sword, Spider Girl, the Black Panther, Iron Man Extremis.
Those great. The Black Panther and the Iron Man one were fucking fantastic.
Yes, I loved a lot.
With those, all you have to do is like copy and paste, and you have like a good, thing to go off of if they did it like that.
The Iron Man one wasn't exactly a motion comic, because when Iron Man appears, they made that 3D model Iron Man that actually moves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, again, I'm like, I really just like, they're gonna do another Spider-Man cartoon. They better just. I'd rather just have an adaptation of those stories. You could tell original stories at the same time as well, and they're really going forward.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I really love to see a really Ultimate Spider-Man adaptation, because the show wasn't exactly an ultimate.
That's one of the things I do want as well. I mean, maybe they could someone mix a little bit of like the whole time period when he's in school, he's with Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn. Because I mean, one of the things I love about the Silver Age Spider-Man comics, you had Peter dating other girls. You had Peter just not just be your he's got to date Mary Jane or he's got to date Gwen Stacy. No, he had other girls. He had other love.
Yes, Betty Brant, Lisa.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I mean, like, people like, and that's the whole thing I hate about like the Spider-Man community, where it's got to be those characters. I mean, like, granted, we grew up with Peter hooking up with Felicia or Gwen or Mary Jane in this animated series, which was great and all. But I mean, like, and to be fair, I wouldn't like, I would be all for Felicia and Peter hooking up in the books, because I'm like, well, at least Peter doesn't have to worry too much about his wife, because she can take care of herself. I mean, like, that's just my opinion. I get very tired of the stereotypical of, oh, great, we got to go deal with family drama, and Mary Jane's all pissed off, and this and that. Granted, it could be great in one way or another, but it gets tiring.
Yeah, that's the point. We already sick of that kind of stories in the main character line.
I mean, I feel like that's the point where Peter Parker just needs to just drop that girl and just move on, which honestly the fans don't want to do, and I really just I roll my eyes.
But honestly, I always find very toxic the relation between Peter and MJ in the classic comics.
Well, I never. What type of classic comics you're talking about?
Well, no classic. I mean the 616 version.
I mean that, but I mean what time period did you in particular? Because
I'm not sure, because it's kind of a rush of experience, like in the 90s where the all clone thing, and in the early 20s. Well, before how is the name of the Mephisto comic?
Yeah, that was before One More Day. That was around that.
Before One More Day time is the time I
okay, I gotcha. Because I see great stories with those particular characters.
Like Maximum Carnage, I really love that story.
Yeah, I like that story. It's now I love Absolute Carnage a little bit more. I mean, because Absolute Carnage I like the newer comics of Carnage, Absolute Carnage and the Venom books, because Venom was a great villain, but he was only trying to get even to Peter. Same goes with the symbiote character. And after a time, they made that character more of a hero than a villain. Now he's a full-blown hero. He's not an anti-hero. He's a hero.
Yeah, because he already.
And that's where I really feel like they nail what was missing about that character. They didn't know what to do with that character. And that's the one thing I liked about what they did. And I hope that happens with the movies, where he's not just a villain, he's a hero.
Well, in the 2018 movie, he actually is more like a hero than an anti-hero for me.
Oh, yeah, too.
Well, despite by the fact of eating people, but despite that, he really acts more like a hero than an anti-hero.
I mean, I really like Venom a lot, and I really think if they're gonna add, especially the films, if they're gonna have him appear in the Spider-Verse films, just establish him as a hero. I mean, you could have that whole conflict of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man doesn't trust the Venom character, and he tells the other version of himself and the other Spider-Man characters don't trust Venom. He's a very, let's just say, a bad villain. And later on, you could have where it builds up to where it builds that trust. But I mean, that's where if somebody wants to have that whole story, and yet again, I'm thinking of all kinds of ideas where they can go. But it's the more I think about it, the more I'm I don't know. This is the thing. The whole back to the main topic. I mean, I'm afraid they're gonna leave Marvel by doing this direction. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I want to know.
Well, with Avi Arad in charge and Amy Pascal, probably that will happen.
You dropped out?
My thing timed out. I'm back.
Hey, Billy, if you want to come down here, we could also talk about DC if you want. I mean, come on. You just join the fucking link. That's just all I'm saying.
One question. Talking about DC, what do you think about Young Justice?
Oh, I hate it.
The comic or the TV?
The comic? No, not a comic. Which one? Which comic? You mean the?
Well, no, I'm talking about the TV show.
Okay, I only like season 1. Everything else is down the shitter. I mean, I hate
the time skips are annoying.
Yes, the thing between, but that.
It's not the time. It's not the time skip. It's more like how they handle some of the characters and how the direction and how. I mean, there's very few good things I liked about season 3. There are very, 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 very small things I liked about season 2. It's everything that I know I had problems with season 2 got so much worse in season 3.
Season 3 was boring.
That too. And I told that to many fans, and I'm like, they really kind of looked at me like, what the hell are you smoking? And to be fair, it's like, if you're passionate about the show, which, to be fair, I understand that, but I mean, I just have problems with it. I mean,
the show is the prime example of why some things just shouldn't come back.
That's like, the thing, too. And that's the whole thing I could argue as well, like, with Earth's Mightiest Heroes, like, it ended. Now, granted, it ended. Despite the problems I really wish that we could have had. Like, I really wish we could have.
Just like with some shows, I actually think that the final episode of Avengers: Mightiest Heroes Season 2 works like a final, works pretty good.
I mean, like, yeah, I agree.
Well,
like,
despite of Surtur thing, because they
really ditched that storyline. They really just like ignored.
They ditched that and the Kree subplot. Remember when the Kree said they were going to come back or something like that?
Yes, they said that in the which episode was the 49th or the 50th?
They were gonna have them come back, but it was also they were gonna have season 3. We're gonna have
the Maximum Twins.
Not that too, but also the Planet Hulk storyline. They were also going to have X-Men versus Avengers. They were also going to have
Iron Man and Dr. Doom traveling time.
Yeah, stuff like that. And we're going to do all this crazy stuff. And
New Avengers.
And like I honestly felt like Captain America was going to be the leader of I was about to say X-Men, the leader of the whole thing of I can forget the name of it, the Avengers, basically the Avengers team. And I'm sure that if Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver appeared in season 3, they were also going to build up to Thanos as well, which honestly I would have been all jizzing all over because they introduced the Guardians, and I believe Adam Warlock as well, because I'm like, oh man, it's like when you know, and that's the biggest insulting factor, when you know shit was going to happen, but yet again, I'm like, you're kind of glad that show didn't came back, because I'm as much as I want that show to come back, I would be scared shitless of what's going to happen next, because I mean, like,
that happens to me also with Generator Rex.
Oh yeah, that too.
Because despite I really love that show, but it's my favorite animated show. But I really doubt that Cartoon Network will handle the show correctly if they bring it back.
I don't think they give a shit about Generation X. They never really promote that show to be your replacement to Ben 10. It was getting more viewership than Ben 10.
And fun fact, actually, Men of Action gave a lot of money to Generator Rex than Ben 10, but because Ben 10 was selling more, they put more effort to Ben 10. But the funny thing is that Men of Action prefer Generator Rex. If you watch the behind scenes, all things, more money was given to Generator Rex than Ben 10.
Yeah, and they even had a crossover.
Yes, two crossovers, one in show and one in comic. But the comic was pretty lame. The show was pretty good, but the comic was pretty lame.
Oh, really? I never really tried the comic version. I'm like,
yes, because the Ben 10 have a comic where Generator Rex appear.
Oh, okay.
The Ben 10 comics were really, in my opinion, I think that the main problem with Ben 10 comics is that they instead of expanding the lore, because Ben 10 have a very interesting lore, the comics were basically just short episodes for me. Episodic adventures that doesn't have
the for me, I liked a lot of Generation X. Because I mean, I really like the darker storyline, the matureness, the how they were handling a lot of things, and it really upsetted me that they really went out of their way to just end that show and just go immediately continuing Ben 10. I'm like, why are you continuing Ben 10? It makes no sense.
Yes, and worst part is most of the fandom are overrating Ben 10 Omniverse, despite Ben 10 Omniverse basically destroy everything that the show previously established.
That's it.
I don't know if you watch Ben 10 Omniverse, but the main problem with Omniverse, basically the show retcon every single episode. Every single episode of Omniverse was a retcon to the original 3 shows.
Yeah, like I mean, like granted, I liked Omniverse, but I really like Alien Force. I really liked I liked the past three shows, like Ben
Well,
10 Alien Force, Ben 10 Ultimate.
It was a
Uh,
natural progression.
yeah, and also like like granted, I saw one person wanted to see an older version of Ben 10, which I'm literally thinking, I'm like, do you really think ever gonna get to that point?
probably
No.
not.
No, I mean, like, granted, maybe back then we would have, but before they turn him into a kid and try to do the GT route, and
Oh
it's
no, no, no.
like
GTT, no.
the moment they did that, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. Fuck this shit. And then they rebooted him with not even a second thought, and it's like it feels like the original show, but it doesn't have the charm of it. The problem with the original, the problem with your new show, it doesn't have the charm in the heart. They're only doing it like the Powerpuff Girls show. That really feels like like the people hate the new updated version of it, but I'm like, it felt like the original. It felt like back to being what it was. The Powerpuff Girls are doing their own thing, doing all their shit. They're still kicking ass. They're still doing what they were doing in the original show. Unlike Ben 10, Ben
Well,
10
the Powerpuff Girls show of 2016 wasn't a reboot, it was a continuation.
was a continuation. Oh, okay. Well, people
Yes.
say it's a reboot because I'm
No,
like,
it's bad. It's a revival because it's a sequel. No, it's not a reboot.
okay. Which and granted, I'm going to say this right now. I'm really looking forward to the live action one because I'm like, I
The CW one?
yeah, the CW one. I really think it could go really well. I mean, like, I really think like if they really pull their cards right, they could do some really good stuff. And like I really feel like they could pull out some really original ideas, but yet again, they could absolutely fuck it up in the worst way. I mean,
Live action
Fun fact,
Mojo
actually, did you know
Jojo.
that Generator Rex have a reboot? They
huh?
are making a reboot of Generator Rex.
What? Really? No way.
Yes. But the problem is that that reboot isn't an original, it's a spin-off of Ben 10 reboot. Because in this version, Rex coexists in the same universe of Ben.
Can you give me a link of that? Because I want to see this.
Yes, let me search it.
I mean, like, I'm dying to see this. I'm dying to see this because I'm like, no way. Like, we just talked about this. I'm like saying they were never going to reboot it. Now you're saying, oh no, they're actually doing it. I'm like, no.
Yes, let me put you the link.
Oh God, no way. Reboot. Let's see this.
And that reboot is like I told you, it's a spin-off from Ben 10 reboot. So instead of having Ben and Rex of different Earths, they are in the same universe.
Oh, that's so stupid.
Yes, watch it.
Dude, I'm like, dude, like one of the things that was the best thing about Ben 10 and
Generation Rex.
Generation X, it was separate. It was separate.
Yes, and you have very good multiversal crossover because the story was pretty good.
And also another thing, you could have like a whole there were like a lot of great storylines you could have done with a whole I feel like they lost their chance of doing a lot of opportunities with Generation X.
Yes, and something that really annoys me is that in the Ben 10 Omniverse crossover episode where he traveled a lot of different Earths, why he never called Rex? Because Paradox and Ben travel a lot of the multiverse. Why he never called Rex?
Yeah, they could have had Rex held down, but yet again, I'm like, it's all about Ben 10, so yeah. I mean, like, I get another thing, but also what also pisses me off about Cartoon Network, and this is why I'm like, and I'm going to say something about people, and might offend people a certain degree. People need to drop the Cartoon Network. The golden age of Cartoon Network is dead.
Fun fact, I actually hate a lot of the new shows of Cartoon Network.
Yeah, same here. I never really liked a lot of the shows.
Like example, Adventure Time for me was the perfect example of a good show doesn't want to be mature, because something that pretty annoys me about Adventure Time is that the show have a lot of things, but always was episodic. They always reset everything. They always treat everything like a a very silly thing.
One episode.
And when the show, it's funny because when the show gets too long, people doesn't do anything with the show, doesn't talk about it. But when the show ends, people start to, oh no, why it ends? They need to continue it. I mean,
and also another thing is, well, I want to say this. Well, I really liked the Thundercats 2011 cartoon.
The anime version, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
That really was one of that. That was like my second favorite because I mean, like, it was a reboot. Now, granted, everyone hated it, and granted, everyone hated the newer version. But I'm like,
hate it. Most of the people that I know love that show.
Dude, I met people that fucking hated that show.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, they were
using those models.
That show is probably let me guess, probably that people are the same people that hate Transformers Animated because it wasn't like G1.
No. Dude, you'll always get those G1 haters. Like those G1 fans. Like if it doesn't benefit what they grew up with, they instantly hate it. Like
classic fanboys.
Yeah, I mean, like they have those 80s fucking fans. No matter whatever they do, it's like if you try to remake it and do something better with it, they always will hate it. And it's just sales of the toys didn't do that well, and it really just went down the drain. And it really hurt a lot of people like me who prefer this show over the original. Because I'm sorry this right now. I don't like the original as much as everyone else. Like I do.
Thundercats classic show, yes, I really.
I mean, like, granted, it's a classic. It's a classic on a lot of degree, but and also it has some great animation and great storytelling. But it's just like when you have it where the first episode you have the voice actor of the original Lion-O playing the father of the new version of Lion-O.
Yes, and fun fact, the voice actor of Lion-O, Will Friedle, he was writer of the show also. The voice actor of Leona was writer also.
Oh, really? Okay. It was like passing of the torch. It was like he was giving the next generation of Lion-O, the new Lion-O, to the new Rhino for our generation. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. This is a once in a lifetime. Imagine you had Peter Cullen and the voice actor who does Optimus Primal voicing Optimus Primal, and you have where Optimus Prime passes the matrix of leadership to Optimus Primal.
Actually, that happens actually. Because Transformers Armada, the show was presented by Peter Cullen. Because when the show came to Toonami, Peter Cullen made their narration to that show.
I know that, but it's like, yet again, it's like, it wasn't like it's what I'm trying to say is like, it's not what I wanted to go for. Like, I really wanted to have where, granted, fun fact too, I really feel like another thing is like, when you have that whole mindset, it's a missed opportunity that we don't have the voice actors who did those characters in Beast Wars, not reprising their roles for the Netflix Beast Wars season.
What what was the name? Transformers War for Cybertron? No, it's Kingdom, right? The third part.
Oh, the dark and gritty one that people started whining about.
Yeah, I mean, granted,
people are hating that show for the voice acting because the voice acting is
honestly, that's a piss poor argument. I mean, like, honestly, my problem, like, you want to know my problems with the show? I'll tell you my problems. My problems with that show is it misses a good opportunity.
You already watched it?
Huh?
You already watched War for Cybertron trilogy?
I watched both.
Yes, because the last time we talked, you said that you didn't watch the show already.
No, I haven't, but on back then, but I did now.
I'm told you, most people are hating that show for the voice acting because here where I live, and the Latin Spanish community of Transformers love that show because have a pretty good voices. But what I'm talking is that the main problem for me to War for Cybertron Siege is that it feels pretty rushed to me. It feels pretty fast. Like example, in Kingdom, it fast a lot of things.
Like for me, it's not that one. It's not that. Like I think the animation is fine. I think the voice acting is fine. My problem is the whole point of the missed opportunity you could have had on the whole part of Megatron becoming having the rise of Decepticons. When you see the Decepticons already established, already winning the war, it really feels like a missed opportunity. It really felt like
the show feels pretty rushed. They feel
what? You feel like a way.
I mean, the story feels like it's pretty fast. I mean, the show feels like it's very fast. A lot of things are passing. You don't have the time to think. The show feels like example. One thing that really annoys me is the fact that they instead of the show start when the war starts, the show starts when the war is already in the final days.
Almost over. And also another thing is too, I feel like when they introduced the Quintessons, it was like, oh great, wonderful. They're only doing this for a toy. That really kind of took me off. And I'm only watching the third season as just fan service. Like a lot of it, it's like just go by all means, guns blazing on the fan.
But you know, the fun thing about that is that at the previous show, Cyberverse did the same things of Siege, but they did it right. Do you watch Cyberverse?
Cyberverse, yeah, I watched like season 1. I liked season 2 to a certain degree. I've seen some episodes on YouTube and I watched them. I really liked what they did, Cheetor, and Cheetor is my favorite besides Optimus Primal and Megatron. I really loved what they did to Cheetor, but I mean, yet again, I always what's that word? I wish they could have done more with him, and that's the one part I really wish they could have done. What? You're a little far away. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was saying, did you already watch the third season of Cyberverse?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it sometime in May. That's when.
Very good because it's in about in the season 3. It's Autobots and Decepticons join together to fight Quintessence.
Yeah, I know because I'm like, wait, what?
Yes, in season 3, the Autobots and the Decepticons joined forces to fight the Quintessence.
Along with the Maximals and the Maximus?
Yes. Maximals, Paracons, a lot, and basically the season 3 is season 3 is basically like a love letter to IDW fans because even the show introduced crime.
Basically, what you're telling me is it's guns blazing fan fiction.
No, I mean the season 3 is my favorite season of the show, but it's very hard to describe. It's very hard to describe season 3.
I'll say this: I like the whole the character story driven on Bumblebee and Optimus Prime and Alita 1, and have where Alita 1 and Optimus Prime had where they have a love and they have they were together and they did not think boy, we're not sign up for this war, and you could go for it. I mean, there's great things in this show. The voice acting is solid. The problem is people are so used to Peter Cullen. Not
exactly that. People are annoyed because they doesn't call an actor, they call an imitator. Because people say that a lot of people say that the problem is that Peter Cullen isn't voicing him. The problem is that Optimus isn't voicing by an actor, is voicing by a Vine celebrity, because the guy who made the voice of Optimus isn't an actor, he's a Viner.
Well, so what? I mean, who gives a fuck? I mean, that's my response.
Yes, it's a pretty weird.
And that tells me that you really don't know. You're really either a piece of shit asshole fan, and you're not giving the show a chance to tell its own direction and give its own.
I mean, my problem isn't that, but most of the fanboys have that problem.
I mean, I like the whole point of, Shockwave made a clone of Soundwave, and this Soundwave guy is pretty much going to do his own shit, and he's all good with Bumblebee. Wrong, X, Y, and Z, and have been, and you go forward. Granted, I would have had a little bit more members of the Autobots. I would add Windblade, because I think Windblade would have a little bit more of a female perspective with Alita 1. Granted, maybe I'm too much of a fan of that version of that character. That's just me. But I mean, like, I really like Windblade on the IDW comics, and I'm kind of
But
glad.
you know something that I really hate about Siege is Starscream, because in season 1 I like Starscream in season 1 because he was like, I'm a Decepticon, I'm pretty, but in season 2 they try a lot to force the traitor of Starscream and feels so rushed. Because to me Starscream is more than a traitor.
Oh yeah, I mean, like,
I hate when most of the incarnation made Starscream always a traitor. Because
I mean,
Starscream is more than a simple traitor.
That's granted. Like, it's more like appealing to certain fan bases on that whole thing. So I get the whole frustration you have on that.
Reminds me of the Bay Formers.
Oh yeah, that too.
We can all agree that the best version of Starscream is Armada, right?
Oh hell yeah, brother! Or
Yeah.
like, or even close.
He's the best Starscream version. That
I
version.
would say even like close second is the IDW one. I mean, the previous continuity.
The 2005 version, right?
Yes, the 2005.
I feel so bad for that Starscream when Megatron used his face to rush the floor.
Dude, I mean, like, when he, like, I felt sorry for him when he failed as a Decepticon leader, and he really kind of just wanted to die because he wanted to just end it all because he looked at him as a failure. And I mean, granted, at one point, I kind of feel like, shouldn't Megatron kind of feel like, yeah, Starscream, I do understand how you feel. I've failed multiple times, but the difference between you and me is I don't let my grief and my failures get the best of me. And that's the whole point I really feel like they should have done. But I mean, I really liked what they did to Starscream, especially when they made him king. Oh, and the habit where he's wearing the Armada look. Oh, dude.
Yes, that was a pretty great thing.
Dude, I was like, oh.
And I cry a lot when Starscream give up.
And the whole, like, the whole part where Windblade.
Windblade.
Yeah, Windblade was having a little bit of confrontation with him, and there were a little bit of, like, people were thinking like, oh, they make a good pairing, and I'm like, yeah, no. At the same time, I mean, it's a working relationship, but they did a lot of fun stories, and that's the one thing I love about. I mean, this is the one thing I love about Marvel and IDW and a lot of the other comic book companies over like DC, where DC, in terms of comic books, you got to pick and choose where you're picking, because a lot of it sometimes, like especially Superman now, pure nostalgia. I mean, like, it's like you can't even get anything new.
Yeah, DC.
Same thing happens with
Deathstroke. The universe.
Huh?
Same thing happens. You see, the main problem of Deathstroke in Deathstroke Rebirth is that the writer Christopher Price loved a lot Deathstroke as a villain, and there's a problem because Deathstroke isn't anymore a villain; he's an anti-hero. But he tried a lot to force that Deathstroke is an anti-hero. That he practically makes Slade a son of a bitch because he have sex with his he have sex with the wife of his son. He hit his daughter. He made a lot of things that it's annoying because this Deathstroke is, I mean, I can understand that Deathstroke it's a pretty dark character, but forcing him a lot to be a villain, it's what pains me a lot.
Could you say the same argument like the Venom fans who want Venom to be a villain again?
Yes, because that is a problem. People already accepted Deathstroke as an anti-hero, but the problem is Christopher Price forced a lot of Deathstroke becoming a villain when he was already an anti-hero. So
here's why I look at Deathstroke. Deathstroke, he could be a hero, he could be a really cool character, and he could be a great villain if the narrative is good.
And that is a problem. Christopher Price narrative isn't good.
I mean, like, I thought the New 52 books were pretty cool. I thought
Rebirth was a lot of nostalgia bait, pretty much.
Oh, really? I never touched that book yet because I read like the first 2 volumes. I read the DCU one and the New 52. I tried a little bit of the older ones. I liked what they were going for. I just never got a chance to go back to them. But I really liked the second run where he was teaming up with all different heroes and all that shit. It was pretty fucking fun to going forward. But I mean, I never checked. I didn't know there was so much hatred on the Rebirth shit on that. Oh crap! I mean, it was that bad. I mean, like, how bad like was it on the whole thing on that? Because I mean, what you're telling me is like it was that bad on people really were pushing that narrative.
He had his own team of Titans, the Dark
Yes,
Titans.
Oh,
the name wasn't Dark Titans. It was Icon, the team of the forming River.
Oh, yeah, I remember that shit. I remember all the I fucking hated that shit.
Didn't Terra come back to life or something?
Yeah, it was more. Oh yeah, that too. But it's also I hated the fact they using Power Girl as a villain, and I'm like, what a good way to piss people off like me who wanted that character to really be a good. And that's the one thing I hate about DC fans. I can respect the somewhat the Snyder fans. I can respect a lot of things on the other comic book DC fans, but when they push, and I mean they push on their narratives, it really makes me sick as a DC fan. I mean, like, I really, really just want, especially the Superman fans. Oh dear God, I hate what they did to Superman. I really, really, really hate what they did to Superman. I blame a lot on the DC fans on what they did to Superman because they basically made him a nostalgia character.
One question, and what do you think about the animated universe of movies?
Oh, they're great. They're probably one of the best things from DC.
The animated movies universe?
Yeah, they're great. They're really good.
I hate it a lot.
What? I thought, like, I mean, granted,
which one? New 52 or like pre-New 52 or New 52? Which one?
The universe that the universe that starts like New 52.
I mean, like, I liked a lot of things from it because I mean, like, I liked how they did the New 52 story of Justice League. I liked a lot of things of Throne of Atlantis, even though they skipped a lot of things from it. And also, like, granted, I was annoyed when they did the Court of Owls and they really skipped. Granted, they took beats out of it, but they really didn't do it fully. That story. And I really just wish that they could have done that whole story. But yet again, I also like Bad Blood and Superman versus Superman. Superman. Death of Superman, The Return of Superman, and also I like the whole Batman, Bad Blood, and Son of Batman. And
I hate that movie a lot.
I thought that was great. I thought it did it. I thought they really nailed a lot of the beats of the beats of the Damian story, and it really was a good direction. Granted, a
lot of people were complaining about like Jason Todd and Tim Drake not being there. Apparently.
That too, I could get that, but I mean, like,
no, my main problem is that they basically ruin a lot of things. Basically, my main problem is that Damian feels like a Gary Stu in this universe because everything that he do feels like everything, and so I mean, I can see your point, but I really can't enjoy these movies.
I like Damian.
I try a lot of liking it, but I simply couldn't.
But here's the thing. I like Damian because they established that he's an asshole, but he could be a likable character at the same time. Like, I like the fact that when you have it where in Titans versus Justice League, you had it where he meets a girl, which is Raven, and they had like a date.
But they basically made pretty boring this version of Trigon.
Oh yeah, true. But yet again, at the same time, Trigon, like, granted, at the same time, they kind of toned down that character. But yet again, at the same time, they also they cut loose when he was fighting Darkseid. Oh God, that made the fantasy versus battles whole lot like, oh shit, Darkseid versus Trigon. Holy crap, this is going to be an epic battle going forward. This is going to be insane.
Their first movie, Justice League War, felt like a pitch for like a Justice League movie.
Yeah, that too. I also felt like that too. But I mean, yet again, I also felt like they had missed opportunities on like continuing that universe. I wanted to see after, like, they kind of
that was my main problem with Apocalypse War. That at the end they delete everything and it feels like. What was the point? That was the point of all things. They delete everything at the end.
But yet again, at the same, but yet again, I would even argue like it felt like a circle. It felt like full circle of the whole universe. I could argue with that too. But I mean, like I mean, personally, that whole like everything kind of built up to that point to where this is the ending of that whole universe, and I kind of felt like that's a good direction. I mean, like I would rather have it where it ends on a note to where this is the end and a new beginning starts. That's my personal perspective. But I mean, personally, and yeah, I do agree. A lot of it felt like just straight out Zack Snyder traits, or a lot of plot.
Oh yeah. Plus, there was no like Green Lantern or Flash team up movie or something.
Yes, my main problem with this universe is they overexplore a lot of Batman. I mean,
Batman itself.
You really had 6 movies in this universe. 6 solo movies.
And but yet again, at the same time, he sells, and when he makes sales, you continue. You don't like. Would you rather have a Green Lantern and it fails?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, granted, I could argue where Aquaman, that Throne of Atlantis movie, was an Aquaman, but yet again, at the same time, with that whole thing, when you're going forward with that, it really kind of you look at it like the whole perspective of a business, and when you have characters on your disposal, you want to go that sells. Wonder Woman was lucky to get sold. That really got the popularity that she truly deserved. And granted, I thank Zack Snyder and Patty Jenkins to bring that character to life, because I'll say this right now, Warner Brothers will never touch her. Warner Brothers would never.
Yeah, that's true. But we all have to agree that Wonder Woman 84 was pretty rushed.
No, not pretty rust. Pretty fucking trash. It was
yes,
trash.
Basically Diane is the villain in the movie, if you think, because he wants to steal the life of an innocent man.
I mean, like, here's my problem with that fucking movie. That fucking movie was just like, let's do everything we can to destroy what made the first one so good. Let's make the Wonder Woman's arc to where, oh yeah, Steve Trevor died because she had to basically be the one to stop the Ares. And then when you have where Steve Trevor has to sacrifice himself to destroy the bomb that's going to pretty much wipe out a lot of people, it meant a lot of things. Now, granted, yet again, Wonder Woman didn't really got the chance to say goodbye to her lover, which was kind of sad. And it was a good touching moment to where she promised to Steve Trevor that she'll never love again and all that crap, which I kind of find that whole bunch of bullshit, because I know one person I would definitely have her hook up with is yours truly, the Bat. I mean, that's just me.
They did in the Will Bill script of Justice League.
Well, I know, but I mean, like, I would have had it where they hook up, but I mean, and going forward, but I mean, and just kind of going forward on the whole thing of Batman's like a second, like a love interest, because they two work together and they were bringing the team together, and you go forward with that whole thing and missed opportunity. Granted, the whole DC universe is a lot of missed opportunity because they went out of their way, because, and hell, even Zack Snyder proved that, yeah, they never had a plan. They never ever had a plan. Zack did. Zack knew exactly what he was going to do.
Yeah, that's why everyone praised him.
Yeah, everyone praises him because
he was the only one in Warner who knows what they are doing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I mean, like, I really like wonder, like, do you honestly think people are going to let this by and just everyone's going to forget about Justly never happened and all that bullshit you did and everything in between on that whole hunky-dory crap? Sure, right. You were going to basically kill that whole universe in an epic way just because you didn't get what you want. And now you failed miserably. You pissed off a lot of fans. I would not be surprised if people went out of their way to just boycott your Batman movie. And that, granted, that's really unfortunate because we didn't get a chance to have. And it also kind of reminds me, yet again, like I said, it kind of gives me flashbacks of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man because he never.
And Ben Affleck as Batman also.
Yeah, that too. But Ben Affleck is in the same. I'm using Ben Affleck as the same time, like for my argument for Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield never shown that he was Spider-Man. Ben Affleck, I would argue to agree, he had his time as Batman, but he never got a solo film. If he had a solo film to truly flesh out that character, people would have loved him even more.
You read the script of the Ben Affleck Batman movie, script, it was great. I feel horrible.
I want to say this. I heard many videos talking about it.
And Batgirl was in it.
Yeah, I heard that too. I also heard Deathstroke and Arkham Asylum was there, and it's like, it really, really upsets me. And it's almost like either DC goes out of Warner Brothers or DC dies. That's what I'm saying.
DC needs to get rid of Warner because basically Warner is killing
or fire the people who are in Warner Brothers. They're stopping this.
Like Walter Hamada?
Yeah, Walter Hamada. Fire him because he's holding that, the one thing that's keeping him by, and it's probably going to lead him to be around for a while, is his Batman film. His Batman film is going to be the only thing that saves his ass. But granted, I don't know how long that's going to work, because maybe 3 movies? Yeah, I don't think Matt Reeves is going to do 6 movies or more. I don't think Matt Reeves.
It feels like you're just getting like the Dark Knight trilogy part 2 or something.
They want to have that direction, because
I can understand the realistic tone, but honestly, I'm kind of sick of the realistic tone of Batman.
I mean, I do agree. I feel like what we need, and this is something that I want, and this is what I was hoping for Ben Affleck. I wanted to see a little bit of the supernatural Batman direction, to where he battles the Court of Owls, which
Clayface
too,
Killer Frog,
Man-Bat. Man-Bat was my main choice. I wanted to see Man-Bat, Deathstroke, a better Batgirl,
and a good version of Black Mask, a good one.
Yeah, that too, and also later on maybe build up to Two-Face, or just establish Two-Face and Penguin and the Riddler, which the Riddler was going to be in Justice League 2, and he was going to kill himself. And it was like this whole thing of the whole Justice League failing, saving the day, and you had that whole thing, which granted, they could still do it. They could add where, Shazam is going to be in the film, and you add his story in the whole mix, and you had it where, they could still fucking save their asses if they really wanted to.
Do you think that Jared Leto
do it?
Huh?
Do you think that Jared Leto is overhated?
Wait, 616. What do you say?
Yeah, they could still do it, but my fear is that Warner Brothers would still mangle with it, because it still wouldn't be like the OG Vision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, but yet again, I would even argue sometimes somewhat Visions could tweak a bit. I would. They added Spider-Man. They had 2 scripts of Civil War. One without Spider-Man, one with Spider-Man.
Yes, the one without Spider-Man give a lot of things of Black Panther.
That too. And it's a lot of things where they were going to go forward with that direction. And when they added Spider-Man, they changed it up a bit. So, I mean, for me, I'm all for new directions, and I'm all for tweaking Zack's story, because I think what it would have been great, because granted, I would also want to have Green Lantern as well, Hal Jordan. You could just establish him. And if you're going to add the Ryan Reynolds version of Green Lantern, that's fine. But I mean,
probably never, because Ryan Reynolds hated a lot working with DC.
Yeah, it's that too. But yet again, at the same time, I would rather just have them just do their own thing, and you could just go forward with it, that whole direction. But I mean, that's just me. I mean, I would just do my own. I would just do my own direction of what I think they should do. But I mean, I really hope they do. I really do, because I mean, they could do so much. They have the stories, they have the characters, and they just don't give a shit. That's my main problem. I mean, we're gonna get to a point to where we're gonna have 3 Suicide Squad films, and you got 1 Justice League film.
Yeah, that's sad.
That is like, oh my god, no. That's like having, let's do 3 X-Men movies and have 1 Avengers film. Do you really?
No, more like having 3 Thunderbolt movies and 1 Avengers movie.
Oh yeah. Too. I mean, do you really think all the Avengers fans are going to be happy? No, we're going to be fucking bitter. We're going to be fucking so bitter and so angry at Marvel for not doing it, and it really would upset a lot of people. And I see that anger is going to build up more and more. I mean, like they say that we're toxic. You're making that into a situation. You see, you have that tool where you can unlock that door and say, it's okay, guys. We hear you're upset. We're going to continue. We're going to continue the Snyderverse in a HBO Max show or an HBO Max exclusive movie series. And you can go forward with that whole direction. But they're not going to do that. It's almost like they want it in purpose.
One question. Do you think that Jared Leto's Joker is overhated?
Yes and no. If we're talking about Zack
before the Snyder Cut, do you think?
Yeah, I think he deserved every hate of it because his script sucked. It was like I was one of them. I really, really had high hopes. He disappointed me in every single way, and it was very unfortunate that we prefer the other Joker, who had his solo film, over the main core Zack Snyder Suicide Squad version. Until like Zack had to redeem him. If you didn't have Zack redeem him, it would have been over. Jared Leto would always be a mockery. Would always be laughed at. What I'm trying to say, so like he would always get laughed at as the Joker because no one took him seriously. Because everyone, the whole thing of, oh yeah, baby, like the way he was so into Harley, and it just makes you scratching your head like, why is he still hooked on this prod? I mean, granted, I agree, the actress who plays Harley is the best, the best Harley Quinn ever. She nailed that character, and the fact that they had it where she wears the animated series outfit, which was just so good, which was. It really it's very unfortunate that, they went out of their way to try to shit on him. And then eventually, when Zack redeemed him, everyone loved him because we got that opportunity with Jared Leto's Joker and Ben Affleck's Batman meeting together in a screen, sharing screens one another. It really felt like, oh shit, I wish we could have seen a movie together, these two guys.
Well, technically they doesn't share a screen actually, because they weren't in the they didn't film at the same time.
But I know that, but it's like
in the movie, yes, they share.
We're talking about the movie. We're talking about the movie. We're not talking about how they made it. We're talking about in the movie. They were making this, and like when they were doing this whole thing, and when they had them together in that last 10 minutes or 5 minutes of that Justice League movie, that great Justice League movie. Oh God, tears of joy, so good. Oh God, I can't wait to get
I still can't believe we made it.
Dude, I was already saying all those people who wanted to support the Snyder Cut, I'm like, dude, we're never going to get this movie. And if we do, Warner Brothers will go out of their way to not support, go out of their way to try to shit on this movie because it's.
Remember what happened with Tom and Jerry? That Warner filtered.
Dude, I was just like, no. I saw a little bit of clips of it, and I'm like, oh, they tried so hard to try to fail this movie. It didn't work. It absolutely failed in every way, and it's almost at that point like they tried so hard to make this movie fail. It literally fucking dominated, and it's still dominated every little bit of it. And it's like, wow, unbelievable. It's you're almost in a state of shock that people are still hashtagging. People are still going forward, pushing. And it's like the next step, we're going to do the restoring the Snyderverse, which will probably end up happening. I'm like, if we can get this far, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, depending on where we're at, and that's the thing, depending on if these people are still alive, that's the worrying factor is the moment.
Ben Affleck looks like he's going to age out real quick.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. If he goes to Marvel, that might stop it. Because I'm like, because everyone's worried that he might go to Marvel. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. Everyone's worried that he's going to go to Marvel. And I wouldn't be surprised he goes to Marvel. Which, honestly...
Him and Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill seems like he doesn't even care about Superman at all right now.
Yeah, because, I mean, to be fair, he got fucked over. He's like the same time... The only few people that didn't got fucked over is Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot. They're the only ones that are going to be still around until their trilogies are over, and after that is over, which honestly, I wouldn't be surprised those sequels are going to be shit, because the first movie, it was partially Zack Snyder and partially the fucking new guy that's in Warner Brothers right now, Hamada, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
Hamada. He got involved after Zack left, and it was pretty much, they changed a lot of things. It was like a Frankenstein movie.
The Aquaman movie was just that had nothing. That felt like it had nothing to do with Zack's vision. It was just Aqua Bro, the movie.
I looked to shit up on what they were trying to do. They were going to do the Trench be the main villains.
Yeah, they're going to go for a dark underwater.
Yeah, they were going to do a darker movie of Aquaman, and that's not literally the whole plot. They literally changed it all in just a completely different movie. Now, granted, to be fair, I would say that's a good movie still, because it got the whole character right, but yet again, it did everything what you would want to do for a trilogy. And that's the most sad part, to where it's even harder for the sequel to top that first movie. Because
where do you go after this? Because all I'm thinking about is sidekicks, I guess.
And the whole maybe a son or a daughter direction.
Oh, the Death of a Prince storyline where he loses his hand, maybe, even though he's already gruff.
They could have where Black Manta kills his son or his daughter, which they added in the recent comic books. And, at least in the recent comic books, and it led to the Future State comic book, to where Aquaman had a daughter, and that had it where he's the king and everything between all that hunky-dory shit. And you could have it where Black Manta kills his daughter, or he saves his daughter, but he loses his hand. And that's something that it could be really, really great. However, I don't know. But yet again, Aquaman 2 is going to have the biggest problem. The Queen herself. And
oh, yeah.
I mean, like, we need to recast that bitch and get the Game of Thrones fucking actress. Which, honestly, I mean, no offense to that bitch, that I hate that. I used to have massive respect to her. I used to have a lot of love. The moment she fucked with Johnny Depp's career and ruined it, practically. Granted, he could still make a comeback, but it's just like he let's just say he lost a lot of franchises. His Pirates of the Caribbean films, which honestly, that should have ended a long time ago. I'm sorry, and if he did, came back, instant billion. And everyone's bitching the whole Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts problem. I'm like, I'm sorry, that should have never been a comic franchise. I mean,
it sucked.
The sequel sucked. I didn't see. I only watched one video out of it, and it told me everything that I needed to know. And I usually don't like doing that, but when I know that movie's gonna suck, and I'm like just making sure, just go ahead and spoil it. Which I don't mind spoilers, by the way. I don't mind it. Like it makes me looking forward to that film. But when I see what they were doing, like when they greenlighted all those sequels, and I'm just like looking at it like that movie's gonna suck, and it's gonna suck hard. Oh boy, I'm not looking forward to this. And it showed. It really showed. And I knew J.K. Rowling was not capable of doing it. And that's
feels like the Star Wars. Remember when they like said they were gonna make like a Star Wars cinematic universe or something like that?
Yeah.
It feels like that all over again, but for like Harry Potter.
But here's the thing about Harry Potter. Like, look, you could have a lot of stories. I wanted the history of Hogwarts. I'm getting that game. It had to take a fucking game just to get what I want. I mean, like, I wanted the history of Hogwarts, and J.K. Rowling couldn't do it. I mean, it's such a oh man. If I was J.K. Rowling, I would be so salty. I mean, like, if you ask me, it really says a lot on her because I mean, she fails as a screenwriter, and I really just feel like just go back to what you used to be great. Go do children's books. You're great at that. You could still do that. You don't need to be this person. And I just feel like she became this greedy ass little corporate bitch. And I just feel like you just fucked your career. I mean, like you're and I'm hoping, like, you're granted. I mean, we'll see. I mean, like, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a turnaround, but I mean, that's just how I see it. What about you, Trooper? Oh, I guess he left.
Yeah.
Well,
For Harry, well, I'm not that big of a fan of Harry Potter. I'm more of a superhero guy, I guess.
I respect you. My friends are like not really like big fan of superhero. I'm not a big fan of Harry Potter. Like I could totally understand that. I mean, like I loved Harry Potter saga. It was like a second Star Wars. Had a lot of great things. Had a lot of good stories.
Yeah.
There were a lot of good beats, but I mean the problem is I feel like with the whole sequels of Wonder Woman 3, the Wonder Woman 3 better be modern day. If it's the 90s, I'm not watching that movie. I'm not.
Oh, they said it's going to be set during a pandemic, and I'm like, well, what pandemic are they going to do?
Yeah, that's another thing too, which I think that's a bunch of bullshit, but I mean, yet again, I'm like, if they're gonna really do that, oh boy, they better put some really good stuff in that whole thing because I really would rather just like, and this is just me, I would rather have a movie about Wonder Woman trying to fight Donna Troy because in one of the books that I think it was either the old books or the New 52 books. She fought Donna Troy, and she was a villain, and she was manipulated on a bigger villain.
The David Finch. I think, yeah, that one.
Yeah, I would want to have that, a modern day story to where it introduces Donna Troy and have where she saves one of the Amazons, and you can go forward to where Donna Troy becomes a good hero, and you can go forward from that hunky dory shit. But I mean, it's just. What's upsetting to me is like I want them to do great, and I just don't see that happening. Warner Brothers, it's almost like they want to be just as toxic, and it's funny to me when I look at Warner Brothers. It really upsets me. It really, really does.
It's like a bad foundation. Like not to say that I'm not trying to say that Snyder was in the wrong with doing his own vision or anything.
I mean, the only problem I have with Snyder is that whole love connection between Lois. I mean, if you take it where he blames himself because he's kind of the cause of Lois's death, that's fine. But having where, oh yeah, by the time when you were dead, Clark, I had sex with your fucking girl, and and I'm like, oh, that's so wrong. I mean, that makes me hate Batman. I mean, like, God damn it, Bruce, what the hell you were doing? Were you that drunk? Did you drink too many?
Superman, more like super cucked.
I mean, like, you guys, did you hang out with Tony? Did you hang out with Tony after you just went out of your shit? I mean, like, come on. It was just, that really bothered me. That really upsetted me. And that really just, if you change that to where, oh, yeah, Clark and Lois had a kid together, and if you want to have it where Superman gets a kid, you can have it where yours truly, either Wonder Woman or fucking Selena Kyle, Selene, aka Catwoman, pretty much had a kid, and that became Bruce Wayne Jr. or whatever. I mean, you could go forward with that whole direction, but it's just like that whole concept. I don't like. You kick that out, everything's good, everything's solid, but it's just. And that's the problem that I see with Snyder. But I mean,
would like a MCU type format, would that help them, like a phase by phase with more? Well,
I think they have, like, if you look at it, what they have, like, phase 1 was Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Batman vs Superman, and Justice League. They could have where Black Adam, Shazam, Aquaman 2. If you want to have 84 there. And have it where, do a slightly explanation on that whole thing, on her pretty much that entire event going forward. Do that, but I mean, you can have Aquaman 2 and 3, and do other movies and other characters, and have the Ben Affleck Batman story be like a HBO Max 13 episodes direction. That would have been great. But the problem is, it's like the biggest issue is AT&T wants to do it. They want to do it, and they have the power to go do it, unlock the keys by force. They really do, and Warner Brothers can't say shit. They can't make them do. They can't say no because they're the boss. AT&T is the boss of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, AT&T just wants the money, because the pandemic is here, and
they see the business. Warner Brothers, they see where if it's not benefit us, go screw yourself. And that's the same.
Did you hear what they said recently about Kevin Feige? Their Kevin Feige is apparently, it's Jim Lee, and I'm like, Jim Lee as a Kevin Feige.
I mean, I kind of like. I laugh as hard as I can when I heard that. I'm like, I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? I mean, like, is he in shock? Like, I mean, are you just using that as like your answer of just shutting us up, which they really are good at? And it's like, it's a shield for something that you guys don't want to reveal. That's another thing too. It's like Warner Brothers is so. They want to protect themselves, and I just feel like you're only fucking with yourself, because it's gonna get to the level of Disney, where the hatred of so much of Warner Brothers is going to go to a point to where people are going to get violent. People and I know a lot of Zack Snyder and everyone's trying to say, calm down. That can only go so far. I mean, I'm sorry. That can only go so far. To where, I'm sorry, Zach. I'm sorry, the rest of Zack Snyder's cast and crew, but enough's enough. I can't deal with it. Either they continue your work, or I'm out. That's the truth, and I feel like a lot of it's going to be out. And the only thing that could just turn it off is give us a comic book. And just release it then. That would be the only saving grace.
Yeah, with Jim Lee on art or something like that, like a high-profile artist or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, too. Like, if you want to cave into us, you could have just easily just let it go. Or just do an animated film, which is...
Oh, yeah.
That would have been even better. With the animation staff and everything in between, it would have been... instant buy. It would have been a smash hit, and that would have been really great, because it would have opened the door for Ben Affleck's Batman movie. It would have opened the door for many other. It would have give the Robert Pattinson Batman movies even a boost to where, okay, all all right, I got my Robert Pattinson, I got my Ben Affleck Batman movies. We're good. Everything would have been great.
Yeah, the idea you're talking about, like that goes with my idea I was telling you earlier about the fundamental, like, broken foundation. Is that the thing about it is, you know how DC's always had this multiverse? They've always had that.
Oh yeah, and they did it. And I'll say this: I'm a big Marvel fan, but I will just say this: Marvel is not as good as multiverse as they are DC.
Yeah, Marvel is just one universe. It feels like one universe, not a big giant multiverse thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the only thing that was successful was the Ultimate Universe, but that ran its course. And like you said, like the main core is the main one. Marvel has like many versions of DC version. DC, correcting myself. DC does a better job on multiverse because they have a lot of loopholes they could get out of. And that's the thing where they could do it. We could have the best of both worlds. It's almost like they don't want that. It's like they want to be the bad guys. They want to be like the whole idiots that to be hated, just like Disney. It's almost like, do you really want to go that low? Do you really want to go like that disgusting piece of shit assholes on what Warner Brothers is doing, or what DC? No, not DC. Disney is doing with Star Wars. Now, to agree, I think Disney is doing an okay job with Star Wars, and I think they're just going to get better. Granted, they should have had somewhat of a plan. I'm sorry, Joe. Even if they don't want to do George Lucas's idea, which I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, George's idea of a sequel trilogy really wasn't that good. I really felt like if you did a little research, it really wasn't that great of a trilogy. And they took some of the beats of his trilogy and carried on, but it didn't say much. But yet again, at the same time, I really felt like they were really lacking on the whole part where, we're going to have the whole part of I'm going to say this, I'm trying to fucking name it. Where's 616? I mean, I guess he left. Oh, no, left.
Oh, wait, I'm still here.
No, I meant Trooper.
Oh, Trooper? Oh.
Yeah. I think he left. But anyway, I mean, like, yeah. I'm going to do a DC video. I mean, that Bella wanted to come in. I really wanted to just talk to her about DC, but I mean, I guess she didn't want to come in. I have another one tomorrow on DC, everything DC.
Yeah, usually her and Anthony are on the
Truth.
Truth. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. I mean, like, I get what they're going for. I mean, like, granted, I mean, like they're really good people. I mean, like, they're really nice. I mean, sometimes they go a little bit how they feel on certain things, which is totally understandable. I mean, like, I don't agree everything, but I mean, I'm not expecting them to agree everything on me. But I mean, but for me, I really felt like with the whole problem with Star Wars is, for me, it's like I want them to go beyond or after the Skywalker family. And if you're going to do a continuation like episode 10 down to 13 or 12, just have a concrete plan. Like I really felt like they should have had like a map out where they're going to go.
Yeah, back in like 2015, they acted like they had this map. Like they had this map or something for like
they had an idea. This is what they have. They had ideas, and to be fair, I could say the same thing to the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, because there were story concepts. In episode 3, George Lucas wrote the Emperor was Anakin's father, which, to be fair, would have kind of changed everything, if you ask me, if he actually if he went through that whole confrontation. You know that part where he, I forgot his name, Nick Fury himself, when he killed him, and or not, you know, in episode 3 where Anakin chopped off Nick Fury's hand, and the Emperor blasted the shit out of him, and he went flying down to the floor.
Oh,
out of the building. And then Anakin say, "What have I done?" And that whole part, that scene to where that whole part where I'm saying is that's where George Lucas had a script mapped out to where the Emperor was going to say, "I'm your father." And granted, I'm just thinking, oh, it would have changed the narrative on the whole original trilogy. It would have made a little bit more different towards Return of the Jedi. But one part I really didn't like on his sequel trilogy is he had Princess Leia be the actual chosen one. And that really upset me. I'm like, well, no wonder why Disney didn't want to fucking go with your idea. Your idea sucked. I mean, like, if you're going to ruin Anakin Skywalker's story, that's a good way of doing it. I mean, people say the sequel trilogy ruined Anakin Skywalker's story by bringing back the Emperor. But yet again, I'm like, well, yet again, I could say the same thing towards Legends. But I mean, my problem with the whole thing of Skywalker is I don't like the concept of Rey's a Palpatine, but she accepts the Skywalker name. And it's just like, you missed your opportunity, Disney. You had it where an opportunity to where yours truly, her fucking Rey Skywalker could have been a thing. If you just explain it to where that's Luke's daughter, Luke had to put his daughter into a desert planet, which they would never go to, kind of representing the original trilogy, and you would have had a really callback towards that whole thing. You would have had callbacks of all the shit, because to a degree, the prequel trilogy is, in a way, the original trilogy, and the original trilogy is the sequel trilogy. And you could have where Obi-Wan and Anakin are kind of like the same situation what Leia, Han, and Luke was in. And it was just, granted, it is what it is. I mean, like, the biggest problem I also feel like they should have done is do a cartoon or comic book. It really,
an animated series or something.
Yeah, it really upset me. Granted, they did books, they did this, but it's just like it's so less, and it's just, it really upset me. And it's like, come on. I mean, this is not what I signed up for.
Because I remember hearing that all they wanted to do apparently was if it failed, they just wanted to reboot the original trilogy with new actors.
That was a rumor. That was a rumor. Yeah, that was a hardcore rumor, which honestly I'm kind of glad. Star Wars should never get rebooted. If you want to like absolutely no way, I would say, and that is Star Wars should never get rebooted. Absolutely not be rebooted. Granted, it might happen one day, and to be fair, I hope it's after my lifetime because I don't want to see it. I feel like you could do sequels or prequels. That's the main thing. Marvel and DC, oh yeah, you could reboot those characters, no problem. No one's going to say a word because those characters are going to have so many versions you could do.
Yeah, those characters are essentially like mythology.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Greek god. Like, in a way, they're kind of like gods. Mean, gods and demons. Like, you could do so many versions of those characters. It's endless possibilities, and that's the thing where people like me don't want a Star Wars reboot because you're not going to top the original. You're not going to top the prequel trilogy. You're not going to top the sequel trilogy. It's best you should do is just reboot it. Do in a way soft reboot and just go forward in a continuation way. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's my whole thing. If anything needs a reboot is Star Trek. But yet again, you could say the same thing to Star Trek. They could just go even further or before with that whole thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah. Anyway, it's been good talking to you. I'll have another one tomorrow and talking about DC and everything between on that. So, yeah. Anyway, unfortunately, we couldn't have Bella. I was hoping she would come in, but I mean, and also other people. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Stay tuned for more videos, and yeah, all right.